Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 344 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTGGoldfish, Richard. How's it going today, Richard?
Hey Seth, doing well. A ton of new Magic news to talk about, so I'm super pumped.
Oh yeah, we have a year's worth of product announcements to talk about today. So much information, and we're going to dedicate pretty much the whole cast to that. But before we get to that, we got another co-host in Krim. What's up this morning, Krim?
Morning, Seth. Yeah, we have a lot of big news, lots of things like Richard mentioned, so I'm really excited to work our way through it today.
Yeah, so we haven't started Innistrad spoilers yet. Those actually start on Thursday. But last Thursday, Wizards did a stream announcing essentially the entire 2022 line of products. We have all the standard sets. We got a ton of supplemental sets. We got Universes Beyond news. There's some stuff that's coming out the end of this year, some pre-cons and stuff. So we're going to go over this massive list of basically what's to come in Magic over the next year to 18 months, something like that. And that's going to be pretty much our entire cast. Maybe we get to some fish mail at the end, but that's going to take a while because we have a ridiculous number of products to talk about. But before we get into that, a reminder that our show today is brought to you by Card Conduit. And Card Conduit, you've probably heard about them from us before. It's a great way to sell your Magic collection. And they are offering a new service geared towards smaller batches of valuable cards with a reduced service fee. With their curated shipment service, you can now sell your cards for the best available buy list price with only a 5% service fee. And as with all of Card Conduit services, you don't gotta sort your cards, you don't gotta grade them, no shenanigans like that. Just safely pack them up and ship them out, and you'll get a detailed report with their results. And you can check out Card Conduit's curated shipment option as a way to buy list up to 150 cards with fast processing, optimized prices, and the low service fee of just 5%. And right now, you can even get 10% off by going over to cardconduit.com/goldfish. So Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards, and big thanks to them for supporting our show today. So with our sponsorship stuff out of the way, let's talk about Magic stuff. And we're going to start with the most immediate news before we get into all of 2022 stuff, which is we got new secret layers that are out immediately, that are currently for sale now. Not going to go super in depth, but Richard, what's the TLDR on this new secret layer super drop?
All right, Super Drop Out of Time, currently available on the WotC website, secretlayer.wizards.com. There's a Kamigawa set with some of the legends from the original Kamigawa block. Artist series, Johann Voss, Thomas Baxa. Math is for blockers, which is an interesting artist who makes art based on math. And if you watch the live stream, they actually showed how some of the art was composed. It's actually kind of interesting. And then the most controversial of them all, Teferi's Time Trouble, which is 3 planeswalkers, Karn Great Creator, Dak Fayden, Teferi Time Raveler, except they are templated as if they were printed in alpha. So if you look at the card, it's just literally a giant blob of text. There's no nice, plus or minus abilities. I guess we can read a card here in case you're wondering. So Teferi Time Raveler, Planeswalker Legend. Opponents can cast spells only as though they were sorceries and can attack Teferi as though he were you. Put 4 loyalty, brackets, use counters, on Teferi. Any damage he suffers depletes that much loyalty. If Teferi has no loyalty, he abandons you. During your turn, you may add 1 loyalty to allow you to cast sorceries as though they were instants until your next turn, or you may spend 3 loyalty, then the owner of target artifact, creature, or enchantment returns it to hand, and you draw a card. Any enchantments on it are discarded.
You got all that?
You got all that?
It is so sweet. This is one of my favorite secret layer drops, actually. I love that they went all the way with it and actually used the old school wording. Your planeswalker abandons you is just such a hilarious way to, because that actually is what happens when your planeswalker dies. I love these cards, but I'm really curious what you guys think on it, because there's kind of a conversation on Magic social media about these cards, and specifically how convoluted and incomprehensible their text actually is. A new player is not going to know what this card does. If you don't know what Teferi does or Karn does and you read that, you're not going to have a really great idea of what it does. does that matter anymore? Do these special promo printings, do they need to be comprehensible? Or in the era of smartphones, when everyone can just look up, Gather or Scryfall or whatever, get the most up-to-date text of these cards, does it matter? Like, is it fine to print cards like this? Where do you all come down on this argument over incomprehensible promos?
It does not matter to me, because I mean, we already have the Amonkhet borders. We've had cards that pretty much were not readable since forever, right? You're also talking to the person that does play all foreign cards. So, but I love this, this drop. This drop is exactly just what I love from Wizards when they do these things. They're running in the whole, full on acknowledging themselves and self-aware, and it's hilarious. It's kind of like a trolley, a meme release, right? So of course, it's much like the lands, the one that has a wall of text. It's a lot like that, and it's a lot to take in, and it's really just random and kind of pointless, but I think it's funny. I think it's fine. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it's not egregious at all. Like, we had Japanese cards in our boosters. Like, I do not know what any of the Mystical Archive. Give me a single blue instant Mystical Archive. I'm like, what is this, right? Cannot read it at all. We have Phyrexian cards. Can't read any of that text. We have textless cards, literally no text, right? If anything, this is actually quite clear. If you read through Teferi's abilities, you can figure out what they are. Like, it does what the card says, right? The one downside is when this is on the battlefield, it's hard to distinguish that it's like a planeswalker and attackable, right? When you're just glancing at the board. But other than that, if you read the card, it explains exactly what it does, much better than Japanese brainstorm. You're like, what? I can't read it, right? And the art is new. I don't recognize it. I don't know what's going on, right? So I actually think it's pretty sweet. I just hope they don't overdo it. Like, I can see this selling really well, and Wizards printing 30 of these next year, and then they don't become special anymore. I hope it's once in a while they pull this trick out of the bag, right? So I hope they don't overdo it.
Yeah, I agree with y'all. I love these cards. These are some of my favorites, and everyone does have a phone. Like, if there is any confusion, it's easy enough to look up. And as Richard said, even though I don't know if a new player would really get it, if you're a Magic player, you're going to be able to make some sense out of these cards, even with the archaic wording on them. So I think it's fine, and I hope that Wizards continues to explore this. At this point, I don't think the card has to be super readable, as long as you can tell what the card is and the name is clear. So worst case, someone can easily look it up on Scryfall or whatever and get the Oracle text for it. So as long as they hit that mark, I mean, I don't know, you could put planeswalkers with no text on them, textless planeswalkers, and I would probably think it was cool. So anyway, we got way more to talk about than that. That is the most immediate thing. Those are for sale now. Check them out if you're interested. We have a massive list of upcoming products, and I guess, Richard, do you want to guide us through our massive list of what's to come in Magic?
All right. Turns out Pioneer's not dead, guys. Pioneer's Challenger decks coming soon. I don't know what else there is to say other than Wizards is still supporting Pioneer, right? So that is happening. So that's a new product for Pioneer decks. Commander Collection Black, a collection of Commander cards coming for us. Commander Legends D&D Baldur's Gate. This is a new Commander's Legends product that's themed around Baldur's Gate. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think about this, and why is Baldur's Gate tacked onto Commander Legends? It's like having modern masters, Transformers. What does this mean?
Well, I mean, we're definitely moving in this direction, right? With the D&D, or with the D&D set already here. You have the Lord of the Rings set down the pipeline. This kind of was just something that I just had assumed would be coming, and what better format than to put it in than Commander, right? So why not?
It's really interesting that this isn't Universes Beyond. I guess D&D gets a pass because it's a Wizards IP, but I think it feels kind of.
It is. Right?
I mean, but I don't think it's called Universes Beyond.
It's
when they
not.
were doing the announcement stream, they don't consider it Universes Beyond. I think basically consider it Universes Beyond, even if it doesn't have that like heading on it, because it feels like that to me. I think it's cool though. Apparently the last D&D set, Forgotten Realms, was very well received, and I saw a lot of D&D players really excited. I think Ukrim and Tomer were talking about how some of their D&D playing friends are like trying out Magic with the precons now, and I feel like this is probably a really good choice. Like, there's some controversy over some of the IP crossovers, but it seems like the community is pretty accepting of D&D at this point, and Commander seems like the perfect place to do it. And maybe this explains the one complaint I heard. Well, I guess there was a couple, but one of the big complaints I heard about Forgotten Realms is like, where is this character? Where is this character? And I don't know D&D, so I don't know what anyone's talking about, but apparently there were some like fairly iconic characters that didn't show up in Forgotten Realms. Maybe that's because Wizards is planning on putting them in this next D&D set coming out early next year. So I'm pretty fine with this and actually pretty excited for it, even though I'm not really a D&D player.
All right. Next up on the docket, Double Masters 2022. So another Double Masters set.
I can't even afford the first one.
Reprints?
I mean, reprints are good. It'll be interesting to see what they do for their special product line. Last time Double Masters had the $100 VIP boosters that were not very well received. People were very, very upset about that price, even though I didn't even open any of them, and I like cracking packs. I think the value was still fine because you were like guaranteed a box topper or whatever. I don't know. We'll see if they bring back the VIP booster. See if they do like collector booster boxes. Could you imagine a box of VIP boosters having to spend like $1,000 for a 12-pack box? I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happened. But regardless, more reprints always a good thing. We were just talking about how Modern is getting more and more expensive. Maybe we already need to reprint like Ragavan and cards like that and just get some more supply out there.
Yeah, I mean, this set's gonna probably be like wild. I mean, I wonder how much it's gonna cost this time around. So we'll see.
A lot.
Yeah,
it'll be a lot. It'll be a lot. I don't know how much, but it'll be a lot.
I wonder if people will pay for these premium products now. Right now that you have to split your money amongst, you know, like D&D Baldur's Gate, or getting like collector boosters, or getting VIP boosters, or some of the secret layers we're going to talk about. I wonder if people will still pay the premium for this.
Yeah. There's got to be a limit, right? Like, people have to have some overall number that they can spend on Magic each year or quarter or whatever. So it seems like there's got to be like a ceiling where Wizards keeps printing more and more products, and eventually they're just going to eat away everyone's budget, and people are not going to have the money to buy all those special things that they're printing. But I don't know. I don't think we've gotten there yet. So I guess we'll see how it shakes out.
All right. Next up, we have Unfinity, another unset, the fourth one in the series.
I like unsets. I never get a chance to play with them.
You ever played an unset?
I do.
Really?
No, I never play with them, but I find them funny. And I really appreciate how hyped Mark Rosewater gets for them. I really, even outside of Magic, I like when people like things, and just seeing how passionate Mark Rosewater gets when he gets to talk about unsets, that makes me kind of like them. And he was like, I don't know if you watched the preview stream, he was like dressed up like an astronaut and just doing his like super hype, fast talking, like Mark Rosewater thing about the set. So he sold me on it. I think Mark and his hype for it just sold me on another unset, even though I probably will never play it. I probably won't buy it, but I know there are some people that really love it. So I'm excited for all those people.
I don't really like buying tons of packs of this. I just drafted a little bit with friends, but I think the one thing that's got me pretty excited about this is that some people from Loading Ready Run worked on the set, like Graham, and everybody. So I'm kind of excited to see what they come up with.
Also, there's going to be Shocklands in it. They're doing full outer space theme lands, and you're going to have Shocklands. So worst case, more Shockland reprints, probably with some crazy, unset art. That'll be a good thing. That might get me to buy the box. That might be how they're trying to like sell the set to people that don't really care about silver border cards, like really cool Shocklands. That is a thing that could get people to buy it.
That's so wrong, is it not? Like, what if I just put like Ragavans in the unset and call it a day, right? Like, why are there black bordered cards in the unset?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the lands have always been black bordered,
But they're basic
but they've always been
lands,
basic.
right?
So
Yeah.
this is the first time. Yeah, they've stretched into non-basics. I assume it's like purely a way to sell the set to people. Like
It
me.
is, but just put Ragavans, put in whatever, right? Put in whatever Modern Masters needs into your unset and call it a day, right? Like it was a little awkward.
Yeah.
Fetches,
Yeah.
fetches in the next unset, right? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them at this point. I hope they're cool looking, and I'm sure they will be. Like, outer space shocklands, it's an intriguing idea. So I agree, it's like a bit of a weird home to reprint something that actually matters, and you're gonna, get a bunch of useless unset cards if you're someone who doesn't play with silver border cards searching for the fetch lands, but I don't know. I hope they look cool in LDO. We get so many weird reprints in so many places. At this point, I'm just like, do whatever. Like, go shocklands and unsets, go for it, Watsy, sure.
There's a Pokemon card in my pack. What's going on?
Yes, that was meant to be there.
W40K, Warhammer 40K Commander Precons and Secret Lairs. So we knew about this. I guess they tacked on the Secret Lairs. I don't know if we knew about that. But Warhammer 40K Commander Precons and Secret Lairs. I have never played Warhammer nor Warhammer 40K. But I'm sure lots of people do because the other half of our LGS is usually Warhammer and it looks pretty happening. So Commander Precons, what do you guys think about that?
Wait. So once again, this is where I'm starting to get buried. All right. So these Commander Precons, are these part of the yearly Commander Precons that we get, or are these just specifically for Warhammer?
I believe
40K?
they're specifically for this, kind of like how we have Commander Precons for the standard sets.
Okay, that's what I'm making sure. So I mean, I myself am not a Warhammer player. I've never played it, but you know what? I'm happy that there's some more stuff for people out there that like Warhammer, and I guess they're gonna make a whole secret layer around it. So I guess that's cool. There's probably gonna be some card that I'm gonna need to buy from there, but I'll just hopefully buy the single. But cool that there's more IPs for more people out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm very curious about the power level, how this is going to shake out. Like, what if there's a soul ring that's like some iconic Warhammer 40K character? Is that a bad thing? Like, I like the opt-in aspect of Universes Beyond, but if they have too many staple level cards where you kind of like have to play them, then you're not really opting in as much anymore from a competitive perspective. So I'm kind of in wait and see mode, but I mean, people love it. There's some, I don't care about it, but some people really do. And I've gotten more and more to the point where I feel like it's not, I mean, you just got to let this stuff go, really. I think there's the battle over Universes Beyond. I think that was lost when The Walking Dead drop came, and there was like that massive freak out, and Wizards sold more Walking Dead Secret Lair drops than any other Secret Lair drop. I think that's when the battle kind of ended. So at this point, I'm more concerned about like, are they exclusive cards in the lair drops? Because I'm worried about supply issues and stuff. So at this point, I don't think it's a crossover product battle is especially worth fighting.
Well, hold your horses. Lord of the Rings. Okay, we knew Lord of the Rings was coming, but they dropped a big one on us. They will be modern legal. They will be historic legal. They will be coming to tabletop, Magic Online, and Arena for Commander decks and Secret Lairs. Get ready for Gandalf control and like Frodo aggro. It's happening. They were like, look, we're putting them in modern and in historic because we want more people to play with them.
I'm excited.
Makes sense, right? So
yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about Universes Beyond into constructed formats, into Arena?
That's the biggest thing, right? I mean, the biggest issue is a lot of stuff kind of like just gets released and doesn't get added to Arena, right? So I'm excited to see that, we're getting more of this funneled into Arena. I myself do not care about Lord of the Rings whatsoever, and this set I probably am not excited for from a flavor standpoint, as we all know by now. But I will tell you that this is cool for the future for other sets. That means it's going to come to Arena. That means we're going to also just have, now I know when whatever the next IP set is, the Marvel set comes out after this, I have a chance of playing it in Modern. So this is sweet. It's
this is my least favorite part of the announcement.
wait, but why? Like like hopefully it's not because like, oh no, did I just get punched by Gandalf with my Jund deck or whatever? Because like, let's be honest here, competitively, nobody cares about the flavor. No one listens to flavor or even cares about it enough.
I have two. I have two concerns. With one of them is a little bit flavor related, I guess. One of them is I think it's just like gonna be weird, and I had kind of come to grips with like, okay, I'm gonna play Commander games and they're gonna have all these crazy characters from other games in it, and that's fine. Like Modern though, I just wasn't expecting, so I'm a little surprised, I guess, by having these cards be in Modern and Historic, and I just haven't really come around to that aspect of it. The other thing I'm concerned about, the bigger thing by far, is Wizards pretty upfront about not testing for Modern, and I feel like there's a lot of risk that even completely discarding the IP, that something could end up being like Hogak style broken. Remember Hogak was like, oh, this will be a fun commander card. It's not designed for Modern, but you know, it's in Modern Horizons, so it'll be legal there. And then it just absolutely broke the format for a long time. So I'm a little worried that they're going to like want to push these cards to some extent to make the IP holder happy, and then they're just like, well, we might as well make a Modern legal, and then things might not actually turn out that well as far as the actual like health of the format, not because they're Lord of the Rings cards, but because it's like this huge set that Wizards isn't designing for Modern but is dumping into Modern.
I mean, from a balance standpoint, I feel like I just have that general concern no matter what IP is attached to it. So,
yeah. No, I don't think the Lord of the Rings makes that part worse at all. No, like that's just a like, you're not designing for Modern, but making a bunch of cards legal in Modern. If it was a Magic set, I would be also concerned about it. At least like Modern Masters is designed specifically for Modern, and you can see that through the cards. Like they're to power up certain archetypes, and they go too far sometimes. But that's not what it sounded like with this set. It sounded like, oh, we made this cool Lord of the Rings set, and by the way, we're just gonna make it Modern legal, even though it wasn't designed to be in Modern. And that's the part that makes me nervous about it.
Yeah, I do think the Lord of the Rings aspect does amplify it, right? Like you need to make the IP holders happy. You need to make the fans happy. Like you can't make like Gandalf be a terrible card that no one plays. And also for like the purposes of future endorsements, right? Like if Lord of the Rings set sells like the greatest Magic set ever, if it's all over the news, like, oh, Paulo wins the next, world championship piloting Gandalf aggro or whatever, right? Everyone wins, right? So Wizards is incentivized to like pump up the power of these cards. And if they don't do it now, they will do it eventually, right? Like they will do it eventually. So I think you just have to come to terms with that. I don't know why we feel this is more egregious than Dungeons and Dragons. You are playing Dungeons and Dragons in Modern, right? You were playing it in Legacy, if you could, right? If the cards are powerful enough. It's a different IP. What's the difference between, I don't know, a Beholder and, I don't know, some random eyeball from Lord of the Rings, right? Like it's the same thing. It's just different IP. So this is not too bad because it's still kind of fantasy. There are other IPs that will be incorporated into Magic when they show up in Modern. It might be a little weird, but this one is just a little extension of Lord of the Rings, or not Lord of the Rings, of Dungeons and Dragons.
And at least like the flavor does fit. Like Lord of the Rings, as much as I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan, it does seem like a natural fit for Magic. Like the flavor is the same. A lot of the themes are the same. So I think that part will be fine. One interesting thing that came up on Reddit that I wanted to ask you guys about was, do you think these cards are advertising? There was a pretty big post that someone wrote and had a lot of interaction on it, saying that basically my criticism of these crossover products is essentially Wizards is printing ads on Magic cards. And even if I don't play with these Magic cards, I'm going to have to play against them. And this is kind of like advertising that if I want to play Magic, I don't have any way to avoid this advertising. Do you buy the argument that a Lord of the Rings or Warhammer 40K or whatever, like, is that an ad? Is that what those cards actually are? I never really thought of it that way. And I don't know. What do you think? Is this a form of advertising?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pokemon
definitely.
cards advertise for the Pokemon franchise. When you watch a Marvel movie, it's advertising for the Marvel franchise. When you watch a Marvel movie and a Mercedes drives by, that is advertising for Mercedes, right? Like the whole world works like this. So any crossover you see, any kind of, I think like, you know, you go to Costco and you buy apples and like Mickey Mouse is on apples. You're like, what? Right? That I don't know, right? They decided Disney needed to advertise on apples, right? And you're more likely to buy Mickey Mouse products afterwards. But like, that's how the whole world works. So I don't know that that's particularly egregious in any way. Like we just advertise literally everywhere, right? So yeah, it is advertising, but every single Magic set is also advertising for Magic itself, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, like, I don't personally find it especially problematic, but some people were like very against that. I think kind of like you said, at this point, there's so much advertising everywhere. Even if you do think of some of these crossovers as ads, it's not any different than, you know, watching Hulu or Netflix or TV or walking down the street or whatever. Like, you're just bombarded with that all the time anyway. So it doesn't seem particularly egregious to me.
But I mean, there is a line, right? Like, I don't think this is too extreme, like using popular characters. But at some point, you're going to be like, I equip my Mountain Dew, you know, like enchant it with a Mercedes-Benz 300 or whatever. And then I attack you, you know, like at some point it does get weird, right? But I don't know that this is the point. It's just like a very natural fit of like, yeah, Lord of the Rings, like people who play Lord of the Rings or who play Magic like Lord of the Rings. So like, yeah, I think it's okay.
Except Crim and I, apparently. Everyone else.
I didn't. Yeah, it's so weird to like. I don't know why this is something that I feel like I would like, but because, you know, in the world of fantasy, but for some odd reason, just Lord of the Rings just didn't do it for me.
I mean, just wait till you get the State Farm Secret Lair drop. You know,
honestly,
like,
if they tell me to do the discount double check, like if they discount double check, whatever, I guess that's cool.
Have you seen college football? Like, geez, right? You're like, what is this, right? Like, it's just all advertising nowadays. So I guess. Okay, we're not even gone that far yet. This is pretty tame news so far. Okay, so we're ramping up on the excitement here. Next up, what Seth has been waiting for his entire life. Fortnite Secret Lair.
Ooh, that's
it is not a meme.
Seth.
It is real. A Fortnite Secret Lair coming.
That is the most Seth thing ever.
It sounds like a meme. Why am I the Fortnite guy? Because I played Fortnite before a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, I've played it before. I think Fortnite's actually pretty fun. I'm not like a huge Fortnite player, but I have played Fortnite. I am absolutely horrible at it. I like hide in a bush and try to let other people kill each other until I get into like the top 10, and then people kill me. But it is pretty fun to play. This is the lair drop I think is most interesting. Actually, maybe we should add in the next one too, because I feel like they kind of go in tandem.
I'll give you a next one. We're prophets. On last week's podcast, we're talking about the greatest movie of all time, Street Fighter. Turns out Wizards agrees. Street Fighter Secret Lair coming. They also hint. So they gave us the Chun-Li art, and true Wizards fashion, they're gonna give her multi-kicker and mechanically unique cards. So they just straight up said it.
This, okay. Overall, this has got me really, really pumped. I hate Fortnite. The game itself, I don't play it, I don't touch it, whatever. But the thing is, I'm sure somebody will love it. This is not for me, but this is going to be for, I guess, to try to hook in the newer people or the younger crowd. But look, the Street Fighter one, now that is what I'm here for. This is... Oh, like we already had Commander Clash where Tomer has a Street Fighter deck, right? There are things like fighting that already exist in this game, literally the mechanic fight. So this doesn't actually feel that far off as much as people would like to make it seem. And then on top of that, this led me to thinking, yo, when are we getting the better game? By the way, Mortal Kombat. Because yeah, with the better movies, by the way.
Wow.
Morbid.
I don't know about that.
Morbid is almost fatality, right? like come on. We're already there. And if you're going to say the artwork it couldn't be done to do Mortal Kombat justice, look at Ultimate Price's promo art and tell me that isn't already Mortal Kombat levels. So, like, I'm happy. I'm happy for the Street Fighter layer drop. I don't care too much about the Fortnite, but now they're full on, doing everything we joked about.
I'm okay with the Fortnite secret lair drop, even though I am not really interested in playing Fortnite cards, even though I played Fortnite before. That's not really something I care about having on my Magic cards. I'm very okay with it though, because it's all reprints. They're doing the reskin thing, and like I said, I feel like the battle's lost as far as fighting against crossovers. It's happening whether anyone likes it or not. So all you can really do is get on board, or I guess ignore them, because I don't think there's any way that the community freaking out is going to change Wizards' mind about it. So as far as the Fortnite drop, it's all reprints with Fortnite art. We get so many weird Magic cards between lair drops and showcase cards. We've talked a lot of times about Magic cards that don't look like Magic cards. Is it somehow offensive that some of them are going to have, there's going to be 10 cards that have Fortnite characters on them or something? That, to me, that is like a non-issue 100%. The Street Fighter one, my big concern is I'm still really firmly against unique cards and secret lair drops. I know Wizards said, we're going to reprint them on the list in Magic versions eventually. I think that's an unsatisfying response. Like, that's my concern. It's not that it's Street Fighter, it's that I'm against exclusive cards and lair drops, period. The weirdest thing about this for me, though, is as this was being announced, people were really upset and are still pretty upset and like memeing on the Fortnite drop. But in general, people were like celebrating the Street Fighter drop. And that made me start to question maybe the community's reaction to some of these crossover products altogether. And made me think that maybe there's a lot of people who don't have some like firm principled stance against crossover products, and it's more just picking and choosing the ones they like. And it's like, if it's a crossover of an IP that I like, then this is awesome. But if it's a crossover of an IP that I don't care about, and other people that are not me like, then I'm against it. And that's what I kind of came away from that whole thing, because to me, like, Street Fighter isn't significantly closer to Magic and traditional fantasy than Fortnite. Maybe it's like a tiny bit closer, but really, like, neither one of those are especially close to Magic in my mind. So it was very strange to me that there was a huge freak out about Fortnite, but everyone was like cheering for the Street Fighter lair drop. So I don't know, is there any like hypocrisy in that? Are people just picking and choosing the IPs they like and they're okay with those lair drops, and they're not okay with the IPs they don't like? Is that where we're at now?
Are you telling me angry people on social media are not rational? Seth.
That makes too much sense.
Street Fighter is celebrating its 35th anniversary, right? What does that mean? That means most Street Fighter fans are boomers, right? They're us, right?
Yeah.
Like, we played Street Fighter when we were 10 years old, whatever, 15 years old. Fortnite is the young kids. They're probably 15 years old right now, right? So I see why existing Magic fans don't like Fortnite, but I think Fortnite is the most important thing here. It shows that Wizards can get a partnership with something relevant, right? Like, it's not like, here's some IP that we dug up that's like over the hill and like 10 years past its prime, right? This is something. And it's also something that hits a different audience, right? It's something that hits the younger crowd, right? The newer crowd, not the necessarily I like nerdy card games crowd, but like I play, the new gen games, right? So the audience is different. I love everything about it. Street Fighter, I know I'm going to hate. I love Street Fighter. Street Fighter is one of my favorite franchises. I love Mortal Kombat too, but Street Fighter is like way better.
Okay,
I used to be quote unquote pro. I played Street Fighter seriously, right?
Okay.
And then I played as a kid. I know whatever card they print, I will be unsatisfied with, right? It'll be either stupidly broken, and then everyone will look down upon you for playing this card, like say like a Golos, right? Or it'll be so underwhelming that you don't think it does the card any justice, right? So I can see how Universes Beyond will like be a big pain for fans of the actual IP. Like, there's no way they can print a Chun-Li that will make me satisfied, or like a Ryu or whatever, right? Like, it's just gonna be terrible. So I think I'd rather just have them not do it. So I don't know. I just hope the cards have like really good arts and borders and things like that, and I'll just use them as collector pieces as opposed to trying to fit them into my decks or whatever.
The one reason I personally am excited for the Fortnite lair drop is I've talked a little bit before about trying to get my nephew, who's like 8, into Magic, and he's like learning and playing, but he's also 8, so he's like skateboarding and this and that, and he's trying out all different kinds of things. So whether or not he actually sticks with Magic, who knows at this point? But Fortnite's like his favorite game. He loves playing Fortnite. And I think for someone like him, being able to get these Fortnite cards and be like, hey, here's these Magic cards that have characters or mascots, whatever they are, from your favorite game on them. I think that's actually like a really big deal. And I think there's actually a chance that's something that I can use to maybe help keep him interested in Magic, you know, when he's trying out of these other things. So I think there's actually some positive potential outcomes from this. I've heard people calling these products just like money grab products. And when people say money grab, I assume that what they're saying is like the product doesn't have any long-term value. It's just trying to put money in Wizards' pockets, and it's not doing anything good for the long term of the game. And I don't think that's really necessarily true. Like, we'll see how many Fortnite players are going to actually start playing Magic as a result. Is it mostly going to be like Richard was saying, like, I don't know if I actually want to play the Street Fighter cards, but I like Street Fighter, so I want to have in my collection. Is that what most of the purchases are going to be? But I actually think there's a chance that there could be people who get into Magic or stay with Magic because of Fortnite, and we need younger players. Like, we are a somewhat boomerish game at this point, where there's a lot of people who've been playing for the 90s, since the 90s, and getting some younger people interested in Magic in the age of Arena and all this, I feel like that's a really positive thing. So if some people have to deal with, if I have to deal with, Fortnite art on Magic cards that I don't especially care about, but the end result is we're getting a bunch of teenagers interested in the game who might be playing for the next decade, to me that feels like a big win, even if there is some like Vorthos cost to it.
So I kind of see what that advertising comment is talking about. Like, we are moving towards a collectible game. Like, Magic has always been a collectible card game, right? Actually, it was a trading card game. But like, the whole point was like, you can collect cards, right? And you can play with them. I feel like we've gone like full Pokemon, I guess. Like, most people just buy Pokemon cards and never play with them. Like, they just keep them. That's it, right? Like, they don't play, they don't follow the meta. There's like, they just, I have a Charizard. Cool. Put it in my binder, and that's it, right? I feel that's the direction Wizards is going. Like, it doesn't matter that standard is terrible. It doesn't matter that gameplay is a bit subpar. We're just like buying cards, collecting super borders, Fortnite cards, Street Fighter cards, and then there's like a mediocre game underneath you can play. And I feel that's the direction Wizards is going, which kind of sucks if you're like a hardcore player, like a Spike, right? Like, the game quality, I think, will deteriorate. But if you're a casual player, you just collect, you don't really play that seriously, then it's great, right? You have all these products to pull from. You can collect your favorite Street Fighter cards. You can play them once a year when you feel like it. But what do you guys think about that? Like, have you guys like seen gacha games? Like, they make so much money. They're just glorified like JPEG collecting, games where there's like a very like thin gameplay layer underneath holding together, but people are just collecting things and they're spending tons and tons of money. And Magic is the original gacha, right? So I think we're just going there.
Yeah.
That's a concern. Like, that's a concern for me, because I really strongly feel like, for me, the game being good is the most important thing. Like, if you want to print Fortnite cards and Street Fighter cards, sure. Like, do what you gotta do. I can deal with that. But what keeps me interested in Magic is the actual game of Magic being good. So I really hope that Wizards isn't going into a mode where they're like, oh, who cares about the actual gameplay? Like, it's way more profitable to print these collectibles that actually, don't do anything, or managing formats and ban lists. Like, that's a lot of work. We can just stick some Fortnite cards, or on some cards and make a ton of money. So why would we bother with, having a functional modern metagame or having standard be fun to play? So that is a concern for me. And I hope that's not the direction it's going, because the game's got to be good. Like, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, for me, if the game's not good, then none of this other stuff matters. If the game's good, I'm willing to put up with a ton. Like, if you want to print Fortnite cards, sure, go for it. As long as the game's fun, do what you got to do. So I don't know. That thought does really worry me.
I'm right there with Seth on that. Like, the game is what matters at the end. Like how well it plays, right? I mean, I do love all these like cool IPs, all this other stuff, but like, that satisfies the, just the casual collector in me, right? But then there's the person that actually plays this game day in and day out. That person cares that the game is good.
Joke's on you. I don't play Magic.
I will.
I just talk about spoilers, make theoretical deck lists, and never get a chance to construct any of my decks or play them before the next product is out. So what does it matter? It's all theory crafting at this point, right?
I guess you're right. Whoa.
And I will say, I don't think that these lair drops have to make the game worse. I don't think there has to be a connection there. It would be more of a concern that Wizards just doesn't care anymore because they can make so much money going the other direction and selling collectibles that they just don't put the effort or the money or the time into the actual gameplay itself. So, but I don't think there has to be a connection with like, oh, we're doing all these different IP crossovers. That's going to make the gameplay worse. Like, it shouldn't have to be that way. It's just a matter of, it's a matter of Wizards still focusing on the gameplay being good, even as they're doing all this other stuff. And I really hope that they do. And I hope they realize that long term, having the game good is what allows them to do all this stuff. Like, because the game is good and there's people who are going to remain interested in the game long term, that's how you can sell all these Fortnite cards and Street Fighter cards. But if the game becomes bad and no one cares about the game, why does anyone want to buy your cards, Fortnite or otherwise? Like, if the game just isn't something people are interested in anymore. So hopefully Wizards realizes that.
All right. And before we get to actual Magic cards from the Magic universe, I want to ask you guys, now that Street Fighter and Fortnite are on the table, what IPs do you want to see?
Ooh. I mean, right off the bat, the biggest one has got to be Marvel. There's got to be a Marvel one. And I would love to see a Final Fantasy one. I mean, not only have we already seen Red Dragon, Green Dragon, Black Dragon from the D&D set, they could literally do the same thing with Final Fantasy. You can add a red mage, blue mage, black mage. You can skip green, and then you can just do all of that because Final Fantasy's universe though I think is, and same with Marvel, is so much bigger than a secret layer drop. So we would need a full set.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many possibilities now. I get, speaking of full sets, like, could you imagine a full Star Wars set, like in the same vein as like Lord of the Rings? That would be a huge. I think there's a lot of different animated show. Like, I fully expect a Rick and Morty like layer drop or commander deck. Like, there's so many different possibilities now. So I expect that the only thing that's going to hold Wizards back on this is going to be being able to get the rights to some of these things. Like, would Star Wars give them the rights to make a Magic set of Star Wars? Like, I don't know, but I think if they did, it would be super hyped.
I don't know how Hasbro would be able to do this, but if they could just figure it out, right? And work with Disney, if you get to work with Disney, you get access to Marvel, Star Wars. It's all under one house. So you just find a way, Hasbro, to make it work with Disney.
I hope it works, and then maybe Disney can make the movie, and it can be salvaged. But I think Resident Evil is very likely to happen, right? Like, zombies are a thing in Magic. It's Capcom, so if Street Fighter is good, Resident Evil would be easier to negotiate, and also it's boomer age, right? It's old enough that
hey, hold on, no, it's not. Hold on. That is my favorite franchise in video games. It's not boomer
it's
yet.
The same demographic as Magic, right? Like, if you really want to know what's gonna sell, you go back to 90s, early 2000s, or whatever was hot back then that's still relevant today. Just throw it on the Magic cards. Magic players will buy it. They won't complain about Street Fighter. They won't complain about Fortnite, right? So you got to hit them with the old IPs. Like, guess what that is? Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, Mortal Kombat. These old franchises that are still relevant today.
Do you think we'll get horror crossover secret layer drop with Innistrad? Literal, I don't know,
Freddy
Frankenstein's and Freddy Krueger. Yeah, all that. They could do that, right? That seems like something that they'd be able to do.
I
would be so happy if we got a Nightmare on Elm Street a secret layer drop. Oh, you could put Doomblade or Go for the Throat. Oh my lord, that'd be so cool.
Or just a 5 different legends that are each classic horror villains,
like the Monster
Freddy
Squad
and whatever.
Yeah,
that would be pretty. There's a lot of ways they could do it, and I expect they're going to do stuff like that too.
I really
even
hope
if we don't
they
get
do.
it for Innistrad, I bet we will see it in the future.
I hope they do, because that would be so cool. I would be the happiest ever.
All right. So back to the world of Magic. What's coming in Standard? 2022. Kamigawa Neon Destiny. We're coming back to Kamigawa. I think they said like 2,000 years in the future. It's cyberpunk.
Yes.
We're going to have like robotic ninjas or something. Kamigawa Neon Destiny. What do you guys think about the return to Kamigawa, but a different Kamigawa? It's cyberpunk now.
I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie to you here. This is the set that like Mob Nixilis, whatever you want to talk about. Like, sure, those are cool. I like that. Everybody wants a Goodfellas of Magic, but the main thing here is Kamigawa Neon Destiny has the potential to like absolutely blow my mind like from how much fun it could be. I mean, you have cyberpunk, so maybe like you could do all the the modifications, the body mods. You get like all the scenery. You can make the lands look. You can make really cool lands, and of course you tie that all in with ninjutsu, so robotic ninjas and whatnot. Like I would love to see that. I mean, there's just so much you could do in like this Neon Dynasty world, and of course all you got to do is Hotline Miami. A box topper style, kind of like how we're having now. Like I called it, we called it with the horror crossover for the Innistrad double feature. I'm going to try to call it again here. Hotline Miami, give me the neon pink, all of that, right? Give me that whole aesthetic, but a variant artwork of some card from that world. And I would live for that. If not, it's okay. There's so much you could do with Neon Dynasty, and I am beyond thrilled as long as I don't have to deal with another like GT standard.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a huge Kamigawa fan, but as long as ninjutsu comes back, because that's one of my favorite mechanics just of all time, I'm going to be
Bushido
happy with it. And oh my god, Bushido! I hate that mechanic.
Yeah, I want to see
I hate most of the mechanics from Kamigawa.
Give me the Bushido 2022, okay?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how they can do this all in a single set, because I think now that we're going back, there's a lot of things people want and expect, and it seems like it's going to be challenging to fit them all into one set. So I'm excited for Kamigawa, but it's not a plane that I personally have a huge connection to. So as long as there's ninjutsu, I'll be happy.
Look, Street Fighter and Lord of the Rings are fine, okay? But like Neon Destiny, like this is like, if you ignore power level for a second, Eldraine was great, right? Like the flavor and everything. I'm hoping they can bring it to Neon Destiny. It's a little of a cop-out. Like, it doesn't feel like Kamigawa in any way. It's kind of like when you're like, oh, we're going back to Zendikar, but it's Battle for Zendikar. It's Eldrazi, right? Like, it's just a cyberpunk set. Like, I don't know what Kamigawa has to do with it, but like, I'm not seeing like some weird spirits and stuff like that, right? So, but I'm down for cyberpunk. I'm down for some Blade Runner-esque type futuristic stuff going on. And I don't know why I'm fine with it, but like I'm not okay with Gandalf in modern, but yeah. Like cyberpunk. Like it's so weird. Right?
Neon.
Like, oh, it's Kamigawa, it's fine, guys. It's cyberpunk. But you're like, how is that like less of a flavor violation than like a wizard?
I mean,
Oh,
this is why I'm okay with all of that though, right? Because like this next year of Magic, look at everything that we had just mentioned, right? Listen to all of that. We're not only gonna get Lord of the Rings, Warhammer 40K, all of this. We're also gonna have a cyberpunk set, like in the world of Magic. You're gonna have like we had mentioned, like this mob boss world. We're gonna also have the Brothers War, Dominaria Unite. Like these are all things that we're gonna throw together. So next year, the biggest thing is a lot like what you had mentioned. How are they going to fit some of this world building into one set? After we moved away from the 3-set block, right? Like I love that, but I think it was the 2-set block would be nice. Like how we had Battle for Zendikar and like Oath of the Gatewatch. I thought that was good. I think we should go back to that. I think only doing one set isn't going to do any of these new sets any justice, because I am so excited for this, and I actually want to stay in Kamigawa for a little bit, or maybe Streets of the New Capenna, all that stuff. So like that's the one thing I wish, just maybe 2-set blocks, because these are really cool planes, really cool ideas, and things that I just wouldn't have imagined Magic doing. So I think this is just whatever this probably dates back to like what, a year or two ago when they finally went wild with like just with their sets, right? Now we have like Lord of the Rings set, we had a Walking Dead thing. Now Magic is just like popping off. They're just like, well, let's go wild. Let's go do planes that we don't normally go to. And I love this Wizards, this Magic. I love this.
So
I do think it's oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you went a little out of order there, but let me just drop the rest of the sets. So Streets of New Capenna is coming after Kamigawa. This is Magic's take on gangsters. You're going to have crime families. They're going to have like certain colors and they're going to have abilities.
Whoa. Not just any colors, though. The shards.
Is it the shards? Okay, the shards.
I know they said 3 color pairs. Did they say shards specifically?
A lot of people are saying shards. I can't verify that,
Okay.
but but the thing here is, if we get another set and Grixis is not on the menu, just throw the set away. Wizards, if you're listening right now, just throw the set away. Go redesign it. Go redo everything. Undo. Control Z if Grixis is not in this.
So after Streets of New Capenna, we have Dominaria United back to the homeland here, and then the Brothers War. So the story of Urza and Mishra that is much beloved for people that actually follow the lore. So those are the 4 sets, standard sets for 2022. But Seth, you were saying.
Well, a couple of things. I think it's a really interesting mix. We have 2 very innovative sets that are doing things we haven't really done before. Cyberpunk, like modern urban crime family gangster set. And then we have 2 incredibly traditional sets going back to like super old storylines. Dominaria, probably the most classic plane in all of Magic. Brothers War going back to like the 90s for the storyline of Urza and Mishra. So it's a really interesting mix. It kind of feels like Wizards wants to do this innovative stuff, but also knows that they need to work with the nostalgia and have things for like long time and franchise players as well. So I feel like we got a good mixture there. I do think that some of the criticism we've heard of Universes Beyond and some of the layer drops is it's not traditional fantasy. And I want Magic to be traditional fantasy, and it breaks my immersion if there's a Fortnite card or a Street Fighter card. But I almost feel like looking at these sets, having like New Capenna, this like gangster modern urban set, having this cyberpunk Kamigawa, maybe those concerns are just about Magic's direction in general. Like, is that even a secret layer thing? Or is it just that Wizards is willing to try new things that are not traditional fantasy, both in Universes Beyond and also just in standard sets? Like, I'm kind of surprised that they're doing Streets of New Capenna. That's the set that is most intriguing to me because we've never really done that before. Magic doesn't do guns and gangsters. That's just not something Magic has ever done. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out, but I kind of feel like some of those, the angst and the criticism of Secret Lair drops is really just something that should be directed, if that's how you feel, should be directed at the direction of Magic as a whole, because I don't think it's about Secret Lair drops as much as Wizards being willing to try things that are not traditional fantasy, and I kind of enjoy it. But I can see how, if the biggest thing for you in Magic is you want traditional fantasy and that's what you love about the game, I can see how some of this stuff would be a little jarring just because it is very different than anything Wizards done before.
Magic, though, has always gone outside of, has done traditional fantasy, but has also explored outside of it, right? So I don't really understand what it is, really. like all the issues that people have, like we had mentioned earlier, there are inconsistencies. There are people that are excited for one thing, but then like hate the idea of like a Fortnite thing, but are excited for Street Fighter, right? So if that is true, then I mean, like, I feel like people should be consistent. If they should just hate all of it or none of it, right? So I don't really understand where the issues are, because I'm excited for this Magic.
Yeah, New Capenna is actually the most exciting set for me. Like, that flavor is pretty cool. Like, Wizards will put their spin on it, right? Like, think of Kaladesh, right? Like that. Around that time, like, that's not really traditional fantasy either, right? And if you only play traditional fantasy, you will get bored. Like, think of any long-running fantasy, like, how about like Final Fantasy, right? Like, they are so far removed from fantasy. They just do whatever, right? Because, they try to keep the spirit of it all, but, there's guns and stuff, and you're like, it's fine, right? So I think...
Well, That's because they nailed the spirit of it, right?
Yeah, they nail the spirit
So,
of
yeah.
it, right? It feels like a fantasy setting, even though it's not the traditional, swords
Even
and
if-
knights and orcs or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I think Wizards needs to do that because we can't keep playing with knights and wizards forever, right? So I actually really like it, and I actually the concept art they showed for New Capenna was amazing, and I really hope they nail it because I'm actually not excited for Dominaria United. Right, like I don't really want to go back to Dominaria again. Like we've been there just recently. We see all the cards all the time. Like it's just standard Magic. So I'm more excited for Kamigawa and New Capenna.
That might get us in hot water because I don't know. I mean, and I quote MTG truists are gonna say that's mind blowing, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm kind of right there with Richard. Dominaria United, I love Teferi. I love all of that, and I love the idea of the Brothers' War happening. But at the same time, those are like way low on my list of hype. I'm so much more excited for everything else that's been announced. Kamigawa and Streets of New Capenna at the top. The Street Fighter Secret Lair. I'm so excited for this. Lord of the Rings now hitting modern. Normal Magic just seems bland. Right?
Ugh, I gotta disagree. I mean, I am excited for Kamigawa and Streets of New Capenna. I'm interested to see how Wizards is gonna pull off this stuff that's different and innovative. But I mean, Brothers War and Dominaria United are actually the sets I'm most excited for the year because our last return to Dominaria, that was a great set, and it was also a great time for actual constructed Magic. Standard was in a really interesting, good spot. That's when they first started doing these legends and all this nostalgia stuff that is kind of carried over. So I'm really excited for those sets. Those would be my number 1 and number 2. Although I also am excited for the other sets. Do you think we're gonna do guns? That's always a question that comes up when we have these gangster sets because Wizards has tried pretty hard to avoid realistic guns. You have some fantasy cannons and whatever muskets on pirates and stuff, but you think we're gonna see machine guns and gangster type guns in New Capenna?
I predict that we're gonna get, first off, if we don't get some equivalent to a Tommy gun, that instead of spraying outwards, what it does is absorb sparks or something like that, right? It'd be more of a gun that just absorbs your life force.
A magical
gun.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, magic harnesses your magic, right? That's what it'll probably be. And then on top of that, if we also don't get some kind of close to what would be kind of how the mobsters would drive their vehicles. I forgot the name of the cars, the old the cars I'm talking about.
The gangster cars.
Yeah, the gangster cars. That's what we're gonna call them. And if we don't get
school style cars.
Yeah, I just don't know what they're called. But yeah, if we don't get some kind of magic take on that with vehicles, come on, we've got to have that, and we've got to have something this. This would be really, really cool. And if there's gonna be another set to bring back the ridiculous names, you run into a pair of goblins, right? If there's a set to bring the name, those kind of names back into cards, it would be there.
Forget about it for a counter spell or something.
No. Yes, exactly like that. Or a deal goes wrong, right? And then you have 2 options. So
yeah, I hope guns and cars and the iconic stuff is in the set, but I don't want them to be explicit. I don't want a vehicle. It's weird, right? But I would expect the art to portray it, right? I don't know about a gun equipment. That might be weird, right? But
it wouldn't be a gun. What do you mean? It'd be a magic harvesting.
Sure, but I'd rather just
machine.
have art of Omnixilis wielding a Tommy gun or something, and that's a Doom Blade, right? As opposed to I equip my 2022 GT gun, right? And, machine that gun down your elves or whatever, right? I don't want that. But
wait,
the art
you
is
say
fine.
that. You say that now, but as you play it back in your head, that kind of sounds kind of cool.
It's perfect, right? You have a GTA type equipment, and you're just machine gun down your board. What you gonna do, right? All right, I think we have covered all the news. I guess, did we talk about Jumpstart 2022? It's coming. It's paper. It's the normal one. Yeah, whatever. So that's all the announcements. I mean, there's just so many exciting things, right? There's Kamigawa, Neon Destiny, New Capenna, Brothers War, Dominaria United, and then you have Fortnite and Street Fighter Secret Lairs, and then you have Lord of the Rings, Commander Precon and Secret Lair, and coming to Arena for Historic and being Modern Legal. And then you have Warhammer 40k, Commander Precons, and Secret Lairs. You have Unfinity, the 4th unset. And then you have reprint sets, Double Masters and Commander Legends, except Commander Legends is Universes Beyond-esque with D&D Baldur's Gate. And then, of course, you have Pioneer Challenger decks, the most important announcement of them all.
And those come out in like October. That's coming out the end of this year. I think same with Commander Collection Black. And also schedule-wise, I believe they said Lord of the Rings isn't until 2023. But everything else is coming in 2022 or some things end of this year. So it is going to be a wild year in Magic. And I'm super hyped for it. This product line looks insane. We're doing new things. We're going back to traditional things. So I'm really hyped. I don't think we're going to be able to get in any fish mail today because we're already going long, so much to talk about. But Richard, if people want to send it in for next week, where should they hit us up?
All right, let us know what you think about all of these new announcements and whether Street Fighter is better than Mortal Kombat by sending them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
It's not better.
Yeah, so let us know what you think about all these sets, this product line, the debate over Fortnite and Street Fighter. What set are you most hyped for? Let us know that in the comments. And on that note, I think it brings us to the end of episode 344 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So, Richard Grimm, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we will be back next week to talk about Innistrad spoilers and whatever else goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have a spectacular week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.